Lumbala town was a modern town in a fictional African country, known for its breathtaking landscapes, rich cultural heritage, and thriving economy. The town was a beacon of hope, attracting tourists and investors from around the world. Its streets were lined with beautifully designed buildings, showcasing a blend of traditional African architecture and contemporary design. The people of Lumbala were proud of their town, which was a symbol of what Africa could achieve. Lumbala was a town that once thrived in the heart of Africa. It was also known for its fertile lands, bustling markets, and a proud history of craftsmanship that drew traders from far and wide. The townspeople were resilient and resourceful, known for their unity and determination. However, as the years passed, Lumbala fell into a period of darkness under the rule of a leader who was not compassionate. Zuri Mufasa, the leader of Lumbala, was a woman of striking beauty and charisma, but her heart was cold. She was a woman of sharp intellect and unmatched ambition. She was feared by all and loved by none. Zuri was tall, with piercing eyes that seemed to see through a person's soul. She ruled with an iron fist, and her word was law. Zuri's cruelty was not without reason. As a child, she had endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of her father, General Mufasa, a decorated war hero who believed in ruling his household with absolute authority. Her father was a man of violence, using physical, mental, and emotional abuse to keep his family in line. Her father was a tyrant. He was also abusive to his wife, and Zuri was not left out. Zuri's mother, a gentle woman, was powerless against her husband's tyranny and often bore the brunt of his anger. This environment shaped Zuri, teaching her that power was the only way to survive. She vowed never to be weak like her mother. Zuri's father died a miserable death as he was very ill and had no one to take care of him till he gave up the ghost. Her father's death should have been a life lesson to her, but she had learned from her father that power was the only way to protect herself. As Zuri grew older, she adopted her father's brutal methods. She became disconnected from her emotions, viewing compassion as a weakness. When she eventually took over as the leader of Lumbala, she ruled as her father had ruled their home with fear and brutality. Lydia was haunted by her past. Her father's voice echoed in her mind, reminding her that weakness was unforgivable. She believed that showing mercy would lead to her downfall, and she doubled down on her cruelty, isolating herself further from the people she ruled. Under Zuri's rule, Lumbala became a shadow of its former self. Poverty spread like a plague as she hoarded the town's wealth for herself and her loyal inner circle. The markets that once thrived with activities became barren, and the fertile lands were neglected as farmers could no longer afford seeds or tools. Crime became rampant as desperation drove people to steal and fight for survival. Zuri responded with even more cruelty. She deployed her heavily armed security forces to patrol the streets, enforcing her laws with brutality. Public executions became common, serving as grim reminders of her absolute power. The townspeople lived in constant fear, their dreams crushed under the weight of an oppressive regime. Zuri's husband, Amani, was a quiet man who had once believed in the potential of his wife's leadership. However, as he witnessed her descent into tyranny, he became increasingly concerned. He tried to reason with her, to remind her of the values they had once shared, but Zuri refused to listen. Zuri feels that Amani's pleas for mercy and justice were signs of weakness. She saw him as a liability, someone who could undermine her authority. Their marriage became a facade, a mere formality for the public. Behind closed doors, Zuri ignored Amani's counsel, dismissing him as irrelevant. She ruled alone, isolated in her own fortress of power and paranoia. The people of Lumbala had suffered for too long, and their patience were wearing thin. A spark of resistance ignited when a beloved local leader, Mosi, was publicly executed for speaking out against Zuri's regime. His death became a rallying cry for the people, who could no longer bear the weight of their suffering. Under Zuri's rule, basic services deteriorated and corruption became rampant. The townspeople, once proud and resilient, were pushed to their limits. They had no choice than to fight for their rights. Protests erupted in the streets as thousands of men, women, and even children took to the streets, demanding an end to Zuri's rule. They were met with brutal force. Zuri ordered her security forces to open fire on the protesters, leading to the deaths of many innocent lives. But instead of quelling the rebellion, the violence only fueled the people's anger. Despite these losses, the people of Lumbala refused to back down. They organized, strategized, and launched coordinated attacks on Zuri's forces. The town became a battleground, with the people's determination pitted against Zuri's ruthless might. As the rebellion grew stronger, Zuri's grip on power began to slip. Her paranoia deepened, and she became increasingly isolated, even from her loyalists. Amani, her husband, had long since withdrawn, unable to reach the woman he had once loved. The final blow came when the people of Lumbala stormed Zuri's palace, a once impenetrable fortress that now stood as a symbol of her tyranny. The security forces, weary and demoralized, offered little resistance as the people breached the gates. In a final act of desperation, Zuri fled her palace, abandoning the town she had once ruled with an iron fist. She disappeared into the night, leaving behind a legacy of pain, suffering, and destruction. With Zuri gone, the people of Lumbala were finally free to rebuild their town. Townspeople were seen dancing and singing on the streets. The markets and schools reopened, and the fertile land were cultivated once more. Amani, who had remained in Lumbala despite his wife's downfall, emerged as a voice of reason and compassion, helping to guide the town through its recovery. The people of Lumbala vowed never to allow such tyranny to hold again. They established a new system of governance, one that prioritized the well-being of the people over the desires of a single ruler. They chose a new leader by voting massively for a very kind and humble man, Bako. Bako's reign was peaceful, and the people of Lumbala became happy again. Everything they went through in the hands of Zuri was a hard-won lesson, but one that would ensure a brighter future for the town. The story of Lumbala serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of despotism and the resilience of a united people in the face of tyranny. Moral lessons. Zuri's cruelty was born from a lack of compassion in her upbringing and in her leadership. The people of Lumbala were able to overthrow Zuri's regime because they stood together in the face of oppression. Their unity was their greatest strength, proving that even the most ruthless leader can be brought down by the collective will of its people. Zuri's cruelty was a direct result of the abuse she suffered as a child. This highlights the importance of addressing and healing trauma, as unresolved pain can lead to a destructive behavior. And lastly, Lumbala's recovery was made possible by a system of governance that balanced power and prioritized the people's needs. So this brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel for more stories. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. See you in my next one. Bye.